Welcome back to Success by Design with me, Tom Blackledge. And in this episode, we're going to talk about 5 life lessons that I learned from MMA. There's a saying in fighting, you either win or you learn. But it doesn't just apply to MMA. It applies to all the facets of life. It's what's known as a growth mindset. Now, when you step into the cage, it's really intense and there's no hiding. As soon as that door closes, you're not talking your way out of it. You just stood in front of another man, half naked, in front of possibly millions of people, both trying to beat each other into submission. It's an intense environment, but like all stressful environments and experiences, there's lots in there that assist us with our growth. Like I said in Fearless by Design, the adversity we face today builds a resilience we need tomorrow. But this isn't just about fighting on the big stage. This is about how MMA teaches you lessons that go way beyond fighting. Lessons that apply to business, relationships, personal growth, every aspect of our life. So today, we're breaking down 5 big life lessons that I've learned from MMA. Ones that change the way that I think, act, and approach challenges. And I guarantee, whether you've fought before or not, these lessons, if you adopt them, can transform your mindset. So let's get started with lesson 1. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. The first lesson, comfort is the enemy of growth. If you have ever been fortunate enough to have a sparring session, think back to your first one. The moment that you first stepped in the ring or the cage or on the mat, put your gloves on. How chaotic that it all felt. You're getting hit, your heart rate's through the roof, you can't breathe properly, your instincts are just screaming to get away, and it causes you to panic. But over time, and over more exposure, that chaos feels normal. You adapt to it, and then suddenly what once overwhelmed you is now just another day training, preparing for combat. And that is exactly how life works. Growth never happens inside your comfort zone. If you want to get better at anything, public speaking, starting a business, building your confidence, you have to put yourself in situations where you're going to feel really uncomfortable. Think about rolling in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. How many people feel really claustrophobic when a partner's lying on top of them and crushing them, causing difficulties with the breathing, and it just creates an overwhelming sense of panic. But over time, we adjust and we accept this as part of the path to becoming better. In recent years, cold water therapy has become extremely popular. Jumping in the ice baths seems like a sort of ritual on a lot of social media posts. And I get asked a lot, do I think it serves a good physiological purpose? Do I think it's good for you and benefits you? And I answer with, as far as the response goes, that I know that it helps with inflammatory responses from our body, and that's why that people don't recommend that you do it straight after an intense session, because it'll diminish the positive returns that you get. But other than that, I'm not sure on the good it does for you. But what I will say is there's not many people who like doing it. If you've never tried them, you'll have a little internal voice inside your head talking you out of doing it. That's that voice that you've got to get control of and dampen down. That's the voice of comfort. And when you remove that voice, it serves us massively in our quest for growth. Showing that voice that it doesn't have a choice helps quiet it in times of discomfort. In the words of Epictetus, difficulties show a person's character. So when trouble comes, think of yourself as a wrestler whom God has matched with a tough young buck. Why? So you may become a champion. You can't become strong without resistance. Lesson 2. The best fighters and people adapt. You know, the difference between a good fighter and a really great one is adaptability. The best guys don't just stick to plan A and that's it. When things don't go their way, they adjust. If you look at the fighters like John Jones and GSP and Demetrius Johnson, they're able to do all of the sport. They can strike, wrestle, clinch, do jiu-jitsu. You take one weapon away and they find another. And that's why they're rated so highly on the greatest of all time status. How often do people fail just simply because they refuse to adapt? They expect things to go exactly according to plan. And when they don't, they freeze. Think about COVID. How many businesses shut down overnight? But those ones that adapted, the ones who moved online, who found new ways to operate, these are the ones that survived and thrived. Fighters know this. Stubbornness gets you knocked out, but flexibility keeps you in the game. Like the great Hickson Gracie would say, flow with the go. Now, lesson 3, the fight is won in the preparation. People think that fights are won in the cage in that moment. I'm sorry to say they're not. They're won in the weeks, the months, and the years prior. All of the training that are leading up to that moment. You don't magically develop cardio on a fight night. You don't suddenly become a great grappler in the middle of a match. Everything that you do beforehand determines the outcome. It's the years and years of investment in many aspects of the sport and in martial arts. But now apply this to your life. Do you want to succeed in business? Well, the groundwork starts years before the opportunity comes. The apprenticeships, the studying, and the many, many mistakes. Do you want to be confident in the big moment? That confidence is built through discipline in the small moments. Developing competence helps us to develop the confidence. You want to be great at anything, then show up every day long before the fight happens. And you keep showing up days after day, developing that resilience and continuing that drive to excellence. Success isn't about what you do when people are watching. It's about the work that you put in when no one's there. You have to face the hardships of training daily. In MMA, it's not about who's best. It's about who's left. The most difficult part isn't turning up on fight night. It's turning up day in, day out for years and years and collecting those incremental gains. In the words of Seneca, difficulty strengthens the mind as labor does the body. Lesson 4, you either win or you learn. In the old days of MMA, the beauty of it was that fighters didn't protect their record like they did in boxing. It was understood that losses were a part of the sport. Now, in the more modernized era, losses, unfortunately, seem to be more frowned upon. But even still, there's no such thing as a perfect record. I can only currently think of 3 fighters without losses, one of which retired and the other has like a DQ loss. But it's always understood in this sport that even the best have losses. Now, here's the key. The greats don't let their losses define them. They use them as fuel and as a way to learn and then improve. I remember some of my toughest losses. At the time, it stung. Like, for a fighter, it's extremely difficult to take a loss. When you don't understand ego or you don't adopt a growth mindset, a loss to a fighter can feel like the end of the world. It feels like the end of a dream. But looking back, those fights forced me to fix holes in my game and, more importantly, in my mindset that I'd been ignoring. If I had won, I would not have changed many things that became integral to my growth, not only as a martial artist, but as a man. Those losses made me better. Now think about life. Most people are terrified of failing. They treat failure like it's permanent. But in reality, failure is just feedback. The only real loss is not learning from it. How many people in history have had businesses that failed multiple times and they've learned from those mistakes and then created massive success stories? There's countless examples featuring prominent entrepreneurs like Henry Ford or Thomas Edison, Oprah Winfrey and Walt Disney, just to name a few. They all learned from their setbacks to build significant companies and to leave lasting legacies. So the next time that something doesn't go your way, ask yourself this: did I really lose? Or did I just learn something valuable? Spend that time to look into what lessons can be learned from the experience, and also how will it shape you in the future. Last lesson, lesson number 5. The only fight that matters is the one against yourself. The hardest opponent that you'll ever face is not another fighter. It's you. Every day you wake up with 2 choices: stay the same or push yourself to improve. Most people aren't fighting others. They're fighting laziness, self-doubt, fear. And let's be real, most of them are losing. The Stoics had a term for this, self-mastery. They believed that the real battle was about controlling your mind, your emotions, and your actions. People assume, wrongly, for martial arts to be about dominance and about control over others. But they're very mistaken. It's about mastery over oneself. The greatest fighters who have legacies that have lasted all had control over their emotions and reactions. Now, people misconstrue anger for being powerful, strong, and dangerous. But there is nothing strong about anger. Anger means you're easily manipulated. And if you can't control yourself, your emotions, well, then that means that somebody else will. Now, as always, the only fight that truly matters is the one that is with yourself. So let's take an action and put what you've learned into practice this week. If you got value from this, please share it, remember to subscribe, and leave a comment. And I'll see you on the next episode. If you want to watch the last episode, just click up here.